I run something called the Happiness Research Institute in Copenhagen, and that's a think tank where we try to look at happiness from a scientific perspective. So my work is dedicated to answering three questions. I try to understand how we can measure the good life or happiness. Secondly, why are some people happier than others? And thirdly, how can we improve quality of life? So when we know what we know from happiness research and data and science, how should we design our cities differently, policies differently, workplaces differently? Yes.
Oh wow, it's a big job. So what are some common misconceptions you get when you tell people what you do for a living?
I think one of the common misconceptions is that people doubt, or people think it's impossible for us to measure happiness. And yes, it is subjective, and yes, it is complex and intangible. But we study a lot of things that are subjective and complex and intangible. I mean, we study stress, depression, anxiety, loneliness, and I don't see why it should be more difficult to try and understand a positive emotion. And I think, the more I get into happiness research and the more conversations I have with people from around the world, the more I see how similar we actually are when it comes to what drives the good life. And we're Canadian and Danish, but we're first and foremost people. And we have now, not perfect, but quite good metrics that capture, I think, what people feel when they feel happy and when they think about the good life.
So I read your little book of Luca, and you talk a lot about cycling and how it has a strong connection to happiness. Here in Sudbury, cycling is a very unrealistic thing in a lot of ways because we're a very spread out city and there's lots of hills. What would you suggest for a city like ours?
Every city has something that makes cycling difficult. I think Sudbury also had this in common with Denmark, that we have quite harsh winters. So we get snow, we get darkness, we get cold in the winter time. Yet 75% of people cycle throughout winter, in part because there's been investment in creating that infrastructure, but there's also priority from the city government to, for example, clear the bike paths for snow before they clear the car paths. So I think sometimes it's also a matter of priority. Then the hills. I think it's interesting to look at Norway, also extremely hilly country. One of their cities has actually installed a bicycle elevator.
Oh.
So it works a little bit like a ski lift. So you cycle up to the bottom of the hill, and then there is a wire with pedals, and then you can put your one foot on the pedal, and then you'll sort of push up the hill. So, come on, we put people on the moon, we can make people use bicycles in cities.
That's a really valid point. It's all about building infrastructure, and it's making the effort to do so. So Canada is a diverse country in a lot of ways, from coast to coast, with big metropolitans and lots of rural communities as well. So do you find that living in a rural community versus a metropolitan play into their overall happiness?
We can see, and I think we see the same pattern in Canada. On average, globally, we see, rapid urbanization, people moving to the bigger cities. But at the same time, we also often see a pattern that shows that people in the bigger cities are less satisfied with life. Than people in the countryside. People in smaller towns are more satisfied with life than people in Toronto and Vancouver. The question is, of course, then why is that the case? Is it because smaller towns have a stronger community? Is it easier to feel lonely in the big city? Is there a higher level of stress? Do you need a higher level of income to get by in the bigger cities and so on? Or has it got to do, and both theories can coexist, but it could also be that the people that do choose to go to Vancouver or Toronto are a different kind of people that perhaps maybe are more chronically dissatisfied with the status quo. I think it's great you have diversity in the opportunities that people can strive towards. Same in Denmark, there is a capital city there. If you enjoy big cities, that's the one for you. But there's also, I mean, smaller towns where you can enjoy a high quality of life. I think the important thing for a country is making sure that whether you choose one or the other, that there are good opportunities, that you make sure that, you know, investments also happen in the rural areas, and you create a coherent country. So not having rich, bigger cities and poor rural areas, but having a country where the entire country benefits from the progress.
So just going off of that then, do you think it should be imperative that workplaces and schools be forced or implemented rather time to reflect on the positive to help build those communities in the metropolitan areas that might not have that strong sense of community like the rural areas?
I think a lot of us have a tendency to focus on what doesn't work, and I think we definitely need to also make sure we are aware of what does work in our societies and in our communities, in our neighborhoods. You mentioned also schools, and I think what schools should do is also consider perhaps a little broader perspective on education. Of course, classical academic disciplines are important, like math and languages and so on. But I think that the learning point from the Nordic countries is a wider approach to education, a more holistic approach to education, where you also teach kids, could be gratitude, like you mentioned there, it could be trust, it could be a spirit of cooperation, it could be social skills, it could be resilience. And I think there are a lot of arguments and evidence that support that we should also try and teach kids life skills, and there have been developed different sort of happiness curriculums that, as far as I've seen, have had good results.
On the topic of students, what is one piece of advice you would give students to lead a more fulfilling life?
Did I struggle with being a student? I struggled to pick my major. I studied business, I studied history, I studied politics, I studied sociology. I didn't know what I wanted to be. I think that looking back, it didn't matter so much because all the roads I could have taken could have led me to this. Okay. And I think what I've learned is also once I finished university and started my career, just to listen where my interest is and where my passion is. I started the Happiness Research Institute because I really wanted to work with this field. I didn't know whether it would be possible financially, but that was where my passion was. I had another job for another think tank 7 years prior, or had been doing that for 7 years. But I just sensed that this was where my interests lie, and I think as I've grown older, the more I listen to my sort of gut feeling and where my interest is and where my energy seeks towards. And I think that's a very good compass for me, because when I'm interested in something, when I'm passionate about something, I also make better work and have better ideas and just enjoy working on the projects, and they don't feel like work. So I think that's my best advice, to listen to where your interest and passion is.
As a humanities university, the arts are often overlooked and considered just something that you pursue, that you're interested in, but may not lead you to a career, said like a doctor or a lawyer. But at the same time, do you think that this speaks to the fact that if you follow what you're really interested in and you're working on something that you're very passionate about, that it doesn't matter exactly what field it is in, that at the end of the day it'll help you find a career that you're passionate about?
I mean, my dad always advised me to sort of make sure you work with something you enjoy, because you're going to spend so many hours doing it. And listen, I would have made a horrible doctor. I mean, I would faint at the sight of blood. I would have made a horrible lawyer, because being stuck in details and paragraphs, I would have lost every case, I'm sure. So I think if we have too narrow a focus on the definition, or too narrow a definition of what success is, then I think we lose a lot of potential happiness. You know, find out what you enjoy, try it out, see whether you can make a living out of that, and I'm sure it's going to bring you more joy than doing something you're bad at and not passionate about, but then allows you to buy a swimming pool or whatever sort of material desires people might have. I mean, you're going to spend at least 8 hours a day on this, so I think, you know, the added value of earning more dollars in other jobs that we hate, I'm not sure from a happiness perspective it's worth.
Oh, thank you so much for being with us here today. I appreciate you sharing all of your research and knowledge. Well, I hope you have a safe trip back home to Denmark.
Thank you.